The fifth chakra deals with communication, and it's no surprise as this chakra is of course ruled by Mercury. It is the microcosmic version of the Holy Spirit. It sits above the heart chakra, and the heart chakra is the bridge between the lower and the higher three chakras, meaning it is the microcosmic version of the rainbow bridge. The macrocosmic rainbow bridge connects the Holy Spirit to the crown chakra, and the Holy Spirit is in turn connected to God, or the All, whereas the microcosmic rainbow bridge is what connects the physical to the spiritual within. The guiding force of the rainbow bridge is of course the Holy Spirit, or Mercury, which is why the dove is associated with the rainbow. It's always shown above the head between you and the All, the 7, the 8 and the 9. Well, the inner or microcosmic rainbow bridge, aka the heart chakra, is the same. It has Mercury above it, aka the throat chakra. Communication is the key principle of this chakra, to express yourself in a clear and concise way. At the third chakra, we learnt the importance of having your own identity and staying true to that identity. Not being hypocritical and claiming one thing while doing the other. Not being a conformist coward who is afraid to be the nail that sticks out in case he or she is hammered back down. Having your own identity, your own tastes, your own opinions, as opposed to the social chameleon who is a reflection of his or her environment, changing from place to place. If you're religious, then it means being all of what you claim to be instead of just cherry picking what you like and ignoring the rest of whatever holy book you preach from. If you're an anti-racist, it means being against all racism, not just the races of your choice. If you're an egalitarian, it means you want equality for all, not just the ethnicity, nationality or the sex that you pick. Now, if you're wondering why I'm talking about the third chakra again, when I'm supposed to be discussing the fifth chakra, bear with me and you'll soon see. Integrity is not necessarily synonymous with morality. Let me say that again. Integrity is not necessarily synonymous with morality. You could be the most morally bereft, evil person around and yet still have integrity. If you are all you say you are, if your identity is authentic, the third chakra is operating as it should. Now, if you're grounded in principles, then this won't be the case, but this is besides the point, because plenty of people are not grounded in principles, and yet they still have integrity. They are what they claim to be, for the better or for the worse. Take, for example, the individual who is grounded in sexuality above all else. If such a person takes the route in life of a social chameleon in order to meet their needs, as so many of this disposition do, then no, they don't have integrity. They are whatever they have to be to get whatever it is they want. If, on the other hand, they're open and they're honest about who and what they are, they wear it on their sleeve for all to see, meaning, right or wrong, they are authentic and they don't present a false image to the world, then yes, they have integrity. So their third chakra is functioning as it should. They're not afraid of expressing their opinion. They stay true to their beliefs. The accuracy or the inherent moral or immoral nature of those beliefs or opinions is not the issue at this stage. The issue is that they are what they claim to be. If they subscribe to a certain belief system, they do so because at its core, that belief system represents who they are and what they believe. Not because they're a cowardly social chameleon who needs a pseudo-identity that they can hide behind, that they can conform to because it's the trend of the time or the place. Integrity and authenticity. That is the third chakra. Well, the fifth chakra is where higher discernment kicks in. It is where the objective and the subjective are placed in separate categories, not to be confused with one another. It's where we untangle what we know to be true with what we think to be true. Opinion versus fact. This is the chakra which calls upon the identity to be flexible as opposed to rigid and dogmatic. No matter how authentic your identity is, this chakra involves shining a light on that identity and finding out if it is based on truth or lies. If it's based on the latter, then it must be dragged kicking and screaming into the light of truth and then rebuilt on solid but flexible ground. This is about your ability to let go of falsehoods when the light of truth exposes them as such. If your identity is the clay, then the throat chakra would be the potter. If the identity has solidified, meaning it is dogmatic and based on falsehoods, then it must be smashed. The clay must be fashioned by the potter, not the other way around. The ego doesn't dictate the truth. The truth should dictate the ego. If you haven't allowed your identity to become rigid and set in stone, this process will be far less painful and difficult for you than it is for someone that has. For obvious reasons, it is extremely difficult to come to terms with the fact that everything you once believed and stood for is wrong. People who struggle with this should not be confused with the cowards who don't have the integrity to form an identity in the first place, as they are wholly different animals in nature. One climbs the ladder and makes a few mistakes that mean he might have to start from the ground up again, whereas the other doesn't even try and climb it himself, but just piggybacks on those that do, until mistakes are made, at which point they jump off that person's back and onto another's, never attempting to climb it themselves. Having to rethink your entire life is no easy feat, and it is on that note that we examine the out of balance extreme yang of the fifth chakra. The way in which the out of balance yang manifests in the fifth chakra is best summed up with the words over-opinionated. People of this nature don't know when to shut up, and they shove their opinions down the throats of others. They tend to have a hard time differentiating between fact and opinion, often conflating the two as if they are one. In a sense, they're like the extreme yin insensitive individuals of the out of balance heart chakra. But unlike those types of people, the over-opinionated extreme yang fifth chakra personality does not operate on malice or any desire to hurt. Neither are they void of emotional intelligence or an understanding of boundaries. They understand these things, but because they feel that they are always right, and that anyone who thinks differently about even the most trivial of things is wrong, they're inclined to view other people as walking mistakes that need to be corrected. They are the most likely of all characters that you would find on a podium pontificating to the masses about one thing or another. To these people, the way you dress is wrong. Your taste in music is wrong. Your dreams and aspirations, stupid and misguided. They, of course, will enlighten you as to what your dreams and aspirations should be, because they have all the answers. They are the know-it-alls. And if you fail to understand this, they will go to great lengths to make sure that you know how wise and omniscient they are. At times, these people can be loud and obnoxious, not allowing you to get a word in edgeways. But of course, why would they? After all, what could you possibly say that they don't already know? People that fit into this category are often very intelligent and very authentic in terms of their identity. Their only problem is that they haven't yet learned to become more flexible in their thinking. They're still pushing dogma as fact. It goes back to the Christ quote about seeing the world through the eyes of a child. So that's the fifth chakra, yang imbalance. So now, on to the extreme yin. The out of balance yin, in the case of the throat chakra, manifests itself as being malleable, easily led, indecisive. Communication may be the principle of this chakra, but the real elephant in the living room with the throat chakra is objective truth. People who talk and write about this chakra tend to say things like, "This chakra is about your truth." Well, I take exception to that, because unless you're talking about taste, opinion, perspective, or preference, then there is no your truth or my truth. There is only the truth, and chances are you won't like it. The subjective things I listed, taste, opinion, perspective and preference, belong in the third chakra category, not the fifth. When people place subjective things in a category pertaining to objective things, it only creates confusion, which is a little ironic considering that this is the chakra of communication. That being said, the issue with the extreme yang was thinking that you already have the truth. The issue with the extreme yin is not even believing that there is a truth, which is why I highlighted the common mistake of associating this chakra with subjective concepts. The type of person we're discussing here is extremely wishy-washy and sends out a confusing mixed messages about who and what they are, what they stand for. Often people who fit this classification will say things like, "There is no such thing as truth. All things are relative," ignoring the fact that statements like that are self-contradictory. This is easy to disprove. If you slap one of these people in the face, and then they turn around and say, "Why did you do that?" you've just proved to them that truth is objective, and that it hurts. Now that's just one example. They won't necessarily espouse that particular belief, but the point is, they're easily led and easily convinced by sophistry. Common sense is a foreign concept to these people. You could win them round in an argument, but the trouble is, they're apt to change their mind the minute someone else presents them with another nonsensical, completely illogical talking point. Yeah, you could probably, once again, win them back around with facts, but that's missing the point. It's not your job to do this. It is their job to start using their mind and working things out for themselves, or they will remain malleable for the rest of their lives, and nobody will understand where they're coming from. And why is that? Because they themselves don't know where they're coming from. In some ways, they're similar to those who have a yin imbalance of the root chakra. They both have their heads in the clouds, but unlike those with a yin imbalance of the root chakra, they don't have problems with managing their own lives and being dependent on others to live. With this, they can be fine. Their problem is more along the lines of being dependent on others to think. As you can imagine, an extreme yang fifth chakra know-it-all would have a field day with their extreme yin, easily led counterparts. It's not that they're unintelligent, it's just that they don't use their intelligence as much as they should. If they did, they would be okay. They are the most likely of all people to flip from one ideology to the next, or one religion to the next, embracing a new line of thought seemingly every week. Now, they shouldn't be confused with the social chameleons of the outer balance third chakra. The latter don't cling to trends or ideologies because they believe in them, they do so to hide behind them. The extreme yin fifth chakra individuals do believe, and that is the difference. They believe, in an albeit confusing and contradictory way, but it makes sense to them in the moment. So they're not disingenuous or lacking in integrity, they're just easy to brainwash and they tend to be well-meaning dupes. They're generally the most childish of all the chakra imbalances, along with the extreme yin root chakra types. Now, at the end of Appledore, I used the Christ quote about being childlike, and someone asked me if this wouldn't just lead to being easily brainwashed. So I'll reiterate what I said in response, as it pretty much sums up the extreme yin yang of the fifth chakra in a nutshell. It's about childlike versus childish. It's a matter of having a flexible mind versus a malleable mind. A flexible mind is not stuck in a rigid state, it is open to different possibilities. A malleable mind can be hammered permanently into shape, in other words, brainwashed. Childlike does not require you to forget all you know, it compels you to know more. But childish leads to forgetting or ignoring what you know. It doesn't care about anything except satisfying its desire in the moment. It shuns wisdom for instant gratification. So, that sums up the throat chakra. The out of balance yin is malleable and prone to outside influence, while the out of balance yang is dogmatic, meaning hammered permanently into shape, or inflexible. On now to the 6th chakra.